This is how it used to be, using a target to drill a spindle mortise in a bow. Introducing the Bow Drilling Jig. This is an effective tool to drill spindle mortises in bows and arms. It's simple to use, simple to make, and very effective. Hi, Kyle Barton here, and I want to thank you for purchasing the plans to the Bow Drilling Jig. I've been working with Peter Galbert for the past several months to help him solidify his design and to make this jig as easy to use and construct as possible. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to build this jig. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple of techniques to make this wooden bracket, which is really the heart and soul of the jig. So with that said, let's get to it. All right, our first step is to cut a groove in the edge of our 3/4 inch plywood blank. This will help ensure that the round components of the jig are centered to each other. And here I am using a 1/4 inch dado blade to cut that groove. The fence is set about 3/16 of an inch from the edge of the blade, and I cut on both faces to make sure that this groove now is centered. And here you can see the groove. It's a 1/16 of an inch deep, about 5/16 of an inch wide. And here you can see how that groove helps secure the round components of the jig. There are of course many ways you can cut the groove in the edge of the plywood. You could use a straight bit and a router. You could use a plow plane if you have one of those. You could even use hand saws and chisels or a router plane to do this. Okay, next we need to go ahead and cut out the blank into our wooden bracket. So I'm going to show you a couple of techniques to do this. First off is utilizing the bandsaw. So I've taken the PDF template and simply cut that out and affixed it using contact adhesive to the wooden blank. Now make sure you orient that the short leg and long leg are to the groove side of your blank. Next, we're going to use a 1/2 inch drill bit in the drill press to go ahead and drill out all the inside curves that are on the template. Now we move over to the bandsaw to go ahead and cut out our blank utilizing the template. Helpful hint, go ahead and put some blue tape on the back side of the blank to help reduce tear out. Okay, now we're going to move on to the second method to cut out the wooden bracket, and that is utilizing a dado blade in the table saw. What I've done is simply transferred the dimensions from the SketchUp drawing over to the blank, and then utilizing a 1/4 inch dado blade, unfortunately only a 1/4 inch dado blade, in the table saw to cut this out. Because of that, there's a lot of rinse and repeat, but this sled is dedicated to that 1/4 inch dado blade, so that's what I'm using. And this is probably the quickest and easiest way to cut out the bracket. It is also the dustiest way, so fair warning there. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out the middle portion of the bracket, and then I'll flip the bracket over and cut out the two, what I'm calling legs of the bracket, the short leg and the long leg. All right, so we have the brackets cut out. Whether you use the table saw method to use a dado blade to cut this out, or the bandsaw method to cut your bracket out, spend a few minutes just go ahead and sanding these down. Just take the rough edges off, make sure it's comfortable in your hand to use, because you are going to be handling this, so make sure everything's nice and smooth and comfortable. So with that, it's time to assemble the jig, but before we do that, let's go over the components. So the first thing we have is the drill bushing. So this drill bushing is 5/8 of an inch in diameter, and the inside diameter of this particular one is 11/32 of an inch. So you can find these, the outside diameter is very critical. You want to make sure it's 5/8 of an inch in the outside diameter, because that's going to match your guide tube. So, and we'll go over that in just a second. So in 5/8 of an inch diameter drill bushing, you can find these anywhere from 3/16 of an inch all the way up to a 1/2 inch. So our next thing is these hose clamps. And these hose clamps, these particular ones are 18 millimeter to 32 millimeter in diameter. That's the range of motion they have. Basically 5/8 of an inch to 1.25 inches. Your guide tube is actually CPVC pipe. This is 1/2 inch CPVC pipe. Don't get that confused with the drain pipe. This is the one actually made for potable water. But anyway, the inside diameter says that it's 1/2 inch. Actually, it's a little bit smaller. This is a 1/2 inch shaft, and it will not fit in there. However, that is fine because the mortises in your seat are 1/2 inch in diameter, and trying to fit a 1/2 inch guide rod into a 1/2 inch mortise is going to be a little bit challenging. So you want something just a tad smaller. So what we have here are our guide rods, and these are actually dowels, and they're 7/16 of an inch, so a little bit less than 1/2 inch, and they fit in here nice. The PVC pipe is 7.5 inches long. That gives you basically about 5.5 inches of travel for your guide rod, so about 5.5 inches of adjustment. So as the spindles that are connecting your bow or arm go up or down in height, you will have to change out your guide rod to the appropriate thing. So we have a variety of dimensions here in our guide rod, and they will probably meet about 99% of your needs. So this is the longest one. This one is at 16 5/8 inches long. The next one down is this one, and this one is at 11 1/4 inches long. And finally, we have this smaller one, which is at 5.5 inches long. And like I said, these will probably meet 99% of your needs as far as drilling spindle mortises in arms or bows. However, if you do run into a situation where you need something smaller, you can always make another guide tube and make this smaller. You could actually cut this one in half. You're not going to have quite the range of motion, as far as adjustment, but it should meet your needs. And of course, you can also make custom guide rods. And all these components are inexpensive, so it's easy to do. And once you see me assemble this, it's easy to assemble and disassemble this. So let's get to the part where we assemble this. Like I said, we're going to do the drill bushing first. Like I said, this drill bushing is 5/8 of an inch diameter, the same diameter as the CPVC pipe, easy for me to say. But anyway, that ensures that these two are aligned. The groove here that we've cut into our bracket here will help hold these round components and keep them perfectly in line. So we're going to take our drill bushing here, and we're going to mount this to the short leg. The long leg here is for your actual guide tube or the CPVC pipe. So let's mount this. Just want to make sure that it's flush with the top here. You want to go ahead and put your band clamp on. Now you do not want to over tighten these. You just want to make sure they're nice and secure. So what I'm using to tighten this is just a drill driver here, a Bosch drill driver. And I actually have the clutch setting on 5, and that seems to be great. You just won't want to clamp down on this. You'll end up embedding this into the into your bracket a little more than you want to, and there you go. So that's at 5, and that's nice and secure. It is not moving anywhere. And the reason we want to make sure we don't want to over tighten these is when you put your PVC pipe on here, is it is possible to over tighten these to distort the tube, and then your dowel will not move freely. So that's one thing you want to check once you get these things secured. So let's just go ahead and put that on, and put put this there. Like I said, I want to make sure that it's flush with here. That's not critical, but there we go. And that is nice and secure. Let's make sure our dowel rod moves freely, and yes, it does. So with that, you have your jig assembled. Thanks again for purchasing the plans. If you want to find out what Pete's up to, please visit petergalbert.com. And if you're interested in other types of chair making jigs, visit my website, kbartontools.com.